Why, hello there, old sports, and, well, you've seemed to have caught me at a pretty bad time, and by that I mean I'm currently getting my face ripped off by a molten bear monstrosity. But that's all for later. For now, I want to tell you a story. Since, at the time of recording, it is currently spooky month, I decided I wanted to make a spooky video, or at least a video on a game that's spooky adjacent. So, of course, I chose everyone's favorite bear robot themed video game series, Five Nights at Freddy's. However, people have already made lots of videos on the first 3 to 4 games talking about why they're as good as they are, so I thought I'd talk about my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's game, that being Five Nights at Freddy's 6, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. So to make things simple, this video will be a retelling of my journey to 100% Five Nights at Freddy's 6, and along the way, I want to share some thoughts I have about this game, including the themes, story elements, art, music, all that good stuff. So, sit down, grab a snack, grab some water, maybe, I'm not sure, you should probably drink water regardless, and please enjoy the video. But before we get into that, how about a word from our sponsor? I don't have a sponsor, I'm just gonna show my YouTube channel real quick. If at any point in this video you catch yourself thinking, wow, this fellow seems quite swell, then I implore you, please like, comment, and subscribe. I love hearing your guys' feedback, even if you're telling me I'm bad at things, because then I can improve. And then also, if you're really liking my videos for some reason, feel free to join YouTube channel memberships or support me on Patreon. No pressure, I just feel like I should say that because YouTube says that people who point that out get better results, so I don't know. Video time. Upon opening Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, you are greeted with a very simple game where you just throw pizzas at children as Freddy. And the thing is, I'm sure everyone who played this game, at least to some degree, knew that there was more hiding in this game. And, yeah, this was just a trick by Scott Cawthon to make it look like this was a simple little game while he was working on something else. Heck, if my memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure there was rumors that a 6th Five Nights at Freddy's game was even cancelled at some point, but obviously we're much farther past a 6th entry in the series now, so that whole rumor is old history at this point. After beating the 3rd round of the minigame, the game is programmed to look like it's beginning to glitch out. And after this happens for a while, the screen goes black, and when it eventually fades back in, you are confronted with Scrap Baby, one of the main animatronic threats of this game. After a moment to give your YouTuber reaction faces for the thumbnail, you can look down and start a tape that begins to explain what you're doing here, and that you're just kind of doing a weird interview with the animatronic across the table from you. Now, after a while of just playing some weird ghostly noises at the thing, Scrap Baby eventually wakes up, stops the tape, and looks up at you before the game cuts to black yet again.
Begin audio prompt in 3,
2, 1.
And the tonal roller coaster isn't over quite just yet, because after the screen cuts in again, it starts playing a VHS tape slideshow thingy, and it just goes over how, yeah, you're a Freddy Fazbear franchisee now, buddy, and it's time to try to make some money. And the game basically kind of runs down all the systems it's going to use, but it doesn't really explain them that well, I'm going to be honest. Or it kind of does, but then again, I kind of know how the game works on like a code level, so the tutorial that it gives that's trying to keep things vague obviously isn't completely correct, but I'm rambling, so we're gonna move on.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for disappearance, death, or dismemberment.
Well, now that the intro is over with, we basically have the whole game to explore. You can get any ending you want in any order, it's not like any endings are locked behind others, you just need to know how to get them. So, for this video's purposes, I'm going to mostly go through the endings in an order that I think kind of goes from least impactful to most impactful, so we save the best endings for last. There are 6 certificates you can get, and 5 are tied to endings, while there's like a semi-secret 6th certificate that I'll explain later, and then on top of that there's 4 achievements. And the achievements aren't as important as the certificates, because the certificates count between, like, new games. Like, if you start a new run, you'll keep any certificates you have, but it will reset the achievements you have. So my goal is to end the game with all 6 certificates and all 4 achievements. Since most Five Nights at Freddy's games don't really have a progression or percentage counter for how much you've done, or they don't really have like Steam achievements, I'm just gonna go with these rules I've set out, so hopefully that's good enough. And if it isn't, then I don't know, do it yourself, I guess? Sorry. Anyways, the first of the 6 endings I'm going to cover in this video is the Mediocrity ending. Now, the reason I'm covering this ending first is because it's mostly a joke ending that's meant to be there if you just don't really play the game. The game has a system it calls the Faz score that increases whenever you place down an item in the Tycoon section of the game. Only placeable items impact the Faz score, so you can buy some items on a Mediocrity run, but there's not really a point to doing so unless you just want to avoid lawsuits, which have a chance to occur if your risk variable is high enough. So, if you wanted to, and what I did on this run was I bought health and safety items to lower my risk so I didn't have to worry about random lawsuits because we won't be making much money, and then I would just play the night section of the game that comes after the Tycoon section. Now, I'll explain how the nights work later, but since we're not really doing anything on a Mediocrity run, I'm just going to skim over them for now. If you make it to the end of the week by completing Saturday, you get the Mediocrity ending and certificate.
Congratulations! You've completed a full week on the job, and you've done it in such a lackluster way that no one is proud or disappointed. It's a fine line to walk, but you did it, completing your job with such an efficient level of laziness that we're surprised you're able to dress yourself in the morning. While such a minimalist work ethic is rare, it doesn't mean that we want you back. In fact, it means you should look for employment elsewhere. But before you go, take this certificate of mediocrity. You should be proud. You stood on 2 feet and convinced someone that you could do something, when in fact you couldn't. Now get out.
Now, there is an ending in this game that isn't tied to any certificate, and that is the 6th ending. But the way you get it is pretty easy. I wouldn't be surprised if people got it accidentally. The way it works is that if you don't have all 4 animatronics in the building attacking you at the end of the week, and you have above 0 Faz score, you will not get the mediocrity ending, but you will in fact get this unnamed ending that doesn't, because again, it doesn't have a certificate tied to it, so I'm just going to call it the fired ending. Here you go.
Congratulations on completing the week. Unfortunately, you did not meet your special obligations under paragraph 4. Your employment is terminated. We'll mail you your things. End tape.
The next ending and certificate I'm going to be going after is the Blacklisted ending. Now, the Blacklisted ending is probably the hardest thing to do in the whole game. 1, because it can be kind of hard to figure out what you're supposed to do, or at least it was for a while because any online resources weren't very clear about what you needed to do to actually get it. And the other thing is that it's just really mechanically difficult, and there's a bit of luck involved in getting the ending. Now, to put it plainly, what you need to do to unlock the Blacklisted ending is to end Saturday with 50 risk in your pizzeria. Now, at first, that probably doesn't sound too difficult, but there's a few things that complicate it quite a bit. First of all, if you add up all the risk that comes with all the attractions you can place down by looking at the catalog, and then also keeping in mind you can only have 5 animatronics at once and 8 attractions at once, you can get up to about like 35 risk if I did my math correctly. Now, that's still 15 risk off from the needed 50, so you might be wondering, if that's the maximum amount of risk you can get from all the stuff in the catalog, how do you get more risk? Well, excluding Monday, aka the first day you start the game at, every day, 5 items in the catalog will randomly be marked down. Now, they can kind of just be marked down generally and have like a lower price point and no added risk, but what you're really looking for is for the item to have marked down price and added risk. Now, when you buy one of these items, there's a chance one of the 4 animatronics can sneak into your restaurant, but they also can just do that if the risk is high enough anyway, and since we're going for 50, it's going to be guaranteed that every animatronic is going to be in your restaurant by the end of the week, so there's not really a point in holding them off. A good strategy for achieving the Blacklisted ending is to not buy unnecessary items, because even items that have already been bought can get marked down, or they can count towards the 5 marked down items. So you just want to buy only what's necessary until you see something that's really badly marked down, and then buy it when it has a higher risk value attached to it. And if you do that enough times, you should be able to bump that 35 risk up to 50 pretty easily. Now, one might think that once you have 50 risk, the game is pretty much over and it's just smooth sailing to the end, but unfortunately that assumption would be incorrect. I already brought up that since your risk is so high, all the animatronics are going to be in your building by the end of the week, but there's also another concern: lawsuits. The way lawsuits work in this game is that at the end of every day, there is a risk value -1 chance out of 50 for a lawsuit to happen, and this can happen up to 3 times, so you can get up to 3 lawsuits in one day, and these lawsuits can be pretty expensive. Now, since you're going to be spending a lot of your money on stuff in the catalog to bump up your risk, you might not have a lot of money when you have to start doing your legal paperwork, and there's a very real risk that you can go bankrupt, because some of these lawsuits can run you more than $1,000, and depending on how well you do in the game or how lucky you get, that money might not be laying around very easily. Every other ending in Pizza Simulator can be gotten pretty consistently if nothing else. Yes, in the completion ending you may have to fend off 4 deadly animatronics at their most aggressive, but if you die, you can just restart the beginning of the night and try again until you win. But with Bankruptcy, there is a lose condition. You can either go bankrupt, or you can maybe waste money on those lawsuits and you won't have enough money to buy the attractions you need to get up to 50 risk by the end of the week. Or you can just get plain unlucky and you won't get very good markdowns. So, yeah, the game can kind of screw you over when it comes to getting blacklisted. Now, thankfully for the production of this video, I ended up getting the Blacklisted ending on my first attempt at it, but it was close. I ended the game at exactly 50 risk on the last day. Or I only got 50 risk on the last day is what I'm trying to say. And also, I knew what I was doing, so that helped me combat some of the bad luck I ran into. And even then, I did get lucky, because I could have just gotten really lucky on markdowns, and that could have screwed me over. But I was able to get the ending, and that's what matters.
Congratulations! By some miracle, you've completed a full week on the job. Here at Fazbear Entertainment, we encourage a healthy spirit of entrepreneurship, which sometimes means taking risks. But you took it a step further. You were reckless and borderline criminally negligent in almost every decision that you made. So much so that you've been deemed a liability hazard, even for us. We'll mail you your final paycheck, minus the costs of wiping the security footage clean and erasing all trace of your employment from our files. But don't feel like you're leaving empty-handed. Take this blacklist certificate. You'll be lucky to ever find employment in this town again. Now take care.
The next ending I'm going to get is the Bankruptcy ending. And the Bankruptcy ending is actually really funny, because if you get it, the game closes itself after the ending cinematic, and then when you reopen it, you have to replay the intro with the fake game, the glitch, the little meeting with Scrap Baby, and then the intro again. You have to do all that intro stuff again to actually play the game properly. It's hilarious. Thankfully, it does keep all your certificates, I just think it's funny.
Don't forget Saturday. You want them all to be in one place. You gave it your best shot. You went all in. You put all your eggs into one basket and did the unthinkable. You ran out of cash. While we encourage entrepreneurs to follow their dreams, we also recognize a lost cause when we see one. There are no do-overs, and we trust that you know your way out. But before you go, take this certificate of bankruptcy. Now do everyone a favor and get lost.
Well, with that, we're officially about halfway through the game, considering we have 3 of the 6 needed certificates. And fun fact, we can actually get the last 3 certificates all in the one next run I'm going to do. Now, the reason I skimmed over a lot of content in the game was so I could talk about it in this section when I go over the final run I did, which I think is the most complete run, if that makes any sense. In this ending, I'm going to get the 4 achievements you can get, the last 3 certificates, and the true ending of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. And then during the night sections, I'm going to either explain certain mechanics of the game or talk about my thoughts on things, as I said I would in the beginning of the video. I kind of just wanted to, again, skim over those first few sections, because I feel like they're not as important as this main last ending, if that makes sense. Hopefully this video has been somewhat entertaining so far, but this is where the real fun begins. So, again, buckle up, get a snack, drink some more water, keep drinking water, never stop drinking water, and enjoy this last run of the game. Before we begin, I would like to explain that the reason I did the bankruptcy ending before this run was so I could crash the game and redo the intro sequence. And the thing about the intro sequence is if you put in the last 4 toppings, or the bottom 4 toppings, when you're creating your pizza, you will start the game with $200 instead of $100. Now again, you can only do this if you can change the thing at the beginning, so that's why I chose to do bankruptcy so I could restart fully. Once I actually get into the game, I waste no time and immediately start buying things in the catalog. Now, my aim here was originally to try to buy everything in the catalog, but I didn't end up succeeding in that, but I got almost everything. And the only things I didn't get weren't really that important anyways. I got all the important stuff. Something I didn't mention earlier is that every time your Faz rating goes over a multiple of 1,000, you get an $100 performance bonus, and this is a very good way of making money, especially in the early game. So if you buy the small stage and all 5 Trash in the Gang animatronics, you can place them all down and earn enough Faz rating to get another $100. After buying some health and safety items to lower my risk, I go over the $100 cap needed to unlock the second catalog, and from there, I buy Midnight Motorist and then place it down in my pizzeria to playtest, which is another good way of earning money. Most of the attractions you can place down in your pizzeria have a little playtest minigame that goes with them, and with this playtest, you can earn Faz rating, which, like I just mentioned, can eventually earn you money. However, you only get 10 play tokens a day, so you can only play 10 minigames a day, so you need to be careful with what you choose to do with those tokens, at least if you want to maximize how much money you're making. I won't be going over every minigame, but Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is free, so if you're really that curious, you could always just go play the game. And like I said, these are minigames, they're not really that important. Or are they? Well, yes. There's 3 minigames that are important, and Midnight Motorist just so happens to be one of them, so I will talk about it. Midnight Motorist initially appears as an arcade racing game, where you can earn lots of score, especially at this point in the game, if you can manage to go fast without hitting things. However, during the 4th lap, a little opening at the bottom of the screen appears, and if you go in it, we find ourselves driving down a road in the rain. Trees surround us, but we continue onwards. As we go forwards, the music eventually begins to fade out and the sounds of the rain intensify, but that's later. Now, we keep driving. At some point, you can come across a clearing with a mound of dirt, or possibly something else, in the middle of the clearing. You can walk over to it, and over it, but you can't interact with it. Going off the road into a parking lot, You can find a building called Junior's with a man standing out front. If you walk up to him, he tells you can't be here, and that you have to leave. Again, you can't interact with him beyond this point. Continuing on, the road begins to narrow. The rain gets louder. We leave our car and approach a house. Our house. Inside, we find someone watching TV. They tell us that he's had a rough day. The door is locked. We'll find a way in from inside. The window is broken, and paw prints lead out into the dark. He ran off to that place again. He will be sorry when he gets back. What you just witnessed was one of the Lore Keeper minigames, one of 3 minigames that are needed to play in order to unlock something later. And when I say play, I mean you need to play them in a specific way. For Midnight Motorist, you need to unlock that secret cutscene instead of just playing the game normally. Or I guess it's not really a cutscene, it's more of a gameplay sequence, but you get what I mean. And while the third Lore Keeper minigame will take a while to get to, the second one we're going to play right now, but this one is slightly more complicated than Midnight Motorist. Fruity Maze is a Pac-Man inspired minigame where you have to collect a bunch of fruit in a maze. Upon doing so, you will complete the minigame. And if you complete the minigame 3 times, you'll get your Lore Keeper secret. But that's later. For now, we need to focus on actually beating the minigame. Fruity Maze also has 3 power-ups that are there to aid you in collecting all the fruit in the maze. The first is the magnet, which magnetizes all the fruit in a nearby area towards you. There's also the lightning bolt, which gives you a speed boost. And then there's the third unidentifiable purple object, which might be a slug, might be a sock, I don't know. But what it does is it allows you to clip through walls. Now you need to be careful that you don't go out of bounds because that will end the minigame in a failure state. But it's very helpful. When you have all 3 at once, you can kind of just zoom through the maze, collecting all the fruit nearby you. While there is a time limit, collecting enough fruit will extend it by a few seconds. So if you're able to get all 3 power-ups and get as much fruit as you can at once, you'll have more than enough time to find the stragglers left in the maze. After beating the game once, some of the objects or fruits in the maze will change to look slightly more morbid, almost like a dog. And even the girl in the reflection of the screen that flashes occasionally will look more sad than usual. But for now, we just must continue collecting fruit. The maze is pretty much the same as last time, the only difference is where you start, because the game has a few preset starting positions you can be placed at the beginning of the game. But otherwise, just try to get all the power-ups and beat the game. The third time you enter the minigame after completing it twice, things will be wrong, to put it lightly. Dead dogs and flowers will be everywhere, as well as things being just kind of generally more sad. You leave behind blood as you walk. The girl in the monitor in the reflection of the screen is crying. Some of the power-ups just don't even work anymore. It's kind of just sad and pathetic, I'm gonna be honest. And even when there's about 10 or less seconds on the timer, a horn will start to blare. Well, that was disturbing. Anyways, moving on. After playing Midnight Motorist a few more times to earn some extra cash, I was able to upgrade my pizzeria building, which allows more guests to enter during the ending day screen thingy. And then I also bought some more stuff and unlocked the third catalog, which gave me access to Fruit Punch Clown. Now, Fruit Punch Clown is simultaneously my favorite and least favorite attraction in Pizzeria Simulator. It's my favorite because it is by far the easiest and most efficient way of making stacks and stacks of cash in the game. However, it also requires patience, and I am not a very patient person sometimes, especially when the only thing you can do is just sit and wait. If I can sit and wait and do something, yeah, I can wait as long as you need, but if it's just sitting there waiting for children to line up, that doesn't go very well. Thankfully, I am very good at this minigame for some godforsaken reason, and I was able to get the jackpot quite often, and every time you hit the jackpot of surprising all the children, you get an extra 10,000 Faz score, and what that equals is $1,000 in the bank, and that is very helpful. Anyways, after some more clowning and buying some more items, I officially start my first night in this run. I was gonna say my first night at Freddy's, but no, this is just the first night of the run. I don't know. Or is it the day? Because it's not really clear if this is like the day during business hours, or if this is the night. We start our first shift. That's probably a better way to say it. As we start our shift, I would like to introduce you to a segment for this video I am calling Mad Rambling with Puppet Wraith, where instead of actually having a script, I just have a few bullet points in front of me, and I'm going to just kind of ramble about my thoughts while I finish the night. First of all, for this first night, I would just kind of like to talk about how good I think this game does at balancing the different aspects of itself. First of all, I feel like the Tycoon is just fleshed out enough to feel like it's not an afterthought, while also having enough space to feel like it could have been expanded upon if Scott had wanted to. And then the nights, shifts. I know most people don't really like the night sections in this game, but for me, personally, even though I can recognize they're not as well crafted as like FNaF 1 or FNaF 2 or FNaF 4, I still think that the nights in this game are very fun, at least to me, and I think they do something that none of the other games can say they really do. They're uncertain. Because there's enough luck in this game, and I think I've just gotten lucky when playing it, but it feels like the game is just unlucky enough to where you don't know what's going to happen, so you're always on edge. When I'm playing FNaF 1, I always know I'm going to survive, because as long as I play well, I'll be fine. And the game is easy enough to where having to play well isn't that demanding of the player. But for FNaF 6, I feel like that even no matter how well I play, I'm always at the mercy of the game to some extent. And unless I go on a streak and die like 30 or 40 times in a row, I'm not going to get mad. I'm just going to be spooked. So I think that's a good way the game is constructed, at least to me. I understand it's not appealing to everyone, and that's completely fine. I'm just thankful that the game just works for me, I guess. Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is my favorite game in the franchise for multiple reasons, and I'm thankful that the gameplay is to my liking. Anyways, I think it's about time to end our shift. One section of this game I've neglected to talk about much up until now is the salvage portion of the game. During the first 4 nights, you can encounter one of the animatronics that can be in your pizzeria in the back alley, and you bring them in to do a little interview like in the beginning of the game. Now, if the animatronic that would be here was already in the building through having too much risk, buying a markdown item, etc., etc., there would be a little sign here that says that they're already inside, and your only choice is to throw it back in the alley. This is just a little mini-game where you have to use audio and visual cues to tell if the animatronic is aggressive, you shock it if it is, and then you go back to playing spooky ghost noises at it. Do that 4 or 5 times, and you get some salvage money at the end of the day. Nothing too complex, just thought I'd bring it up. Also, the jump scares here are better than in The Office. From here on, I'm going to kind of skim over the Tycoon sections a bit, and I'm only going to talk about important stuff, like the clown. I didn't do very well with the clown today. Okay, moving on. I would also like to take some time to explain how the achievements in this game work. Like I said earlier, there are 4 achievements, and they are all gotten in a similar way. Once you have the final stage size upgrade, as well as the little side stage you can purchase in the third catalog, you can place down up to 5 animatronics. And each quote-unquote set of animatronics contains 5, sans the last one which only has 3. And if you place all of the animatronics of a set down on the stage at once, you get that corresponding achievement, as well as a small cash bonus. Again, sans the final achievement. That one doesn't give you any. Though there is a file there's like an image file in the game that implies that that might have gotten you $30,000, but I could be incorrect. And again, that's cut content, so analyzing cut content is always kind of gray. It's always in a gray area. The first 3 achievements, Trash in the Gang, Misfit Melodies, and Rockstars Assemble, are all pretty easy to get if you're playing somewhat optimally like I am. The final achievement, Posh Pizzeria, however, is not really that easy, because you must get the 3 most expensive animatronics in the game and have them up all on stage at once. Funtime Chica and Music Man can be gotten by playing a specific minigame 10 times. For Funtime Chica, you need to play Prize King, and for Music Man, you need to play the Ball Tower. But that's like 20 tokens down the drain just to get those 2 animatronics, and so that's basically 2 days worth of tokens and tycoon stuff that you can't be making other money off of. And for Chipper, you need to just grind up that $32,000 to earn him, so that can be difficult. But thankfully, the previous achievement, Rockstars Assemble, gives you $20,000 off the rip, so if you save well, you can afford these animatronics pretty easily. Again, L-Chip can be kind of difficult, but I think it's very doable. And by doable, I mean sometimes, yes, you might have to sit and grind the clown for like 3 hours, but hey, we've all done that once or twice in our life, so what's the big deal? Also, once you unlock her, I recommend having Funtime Chica on stage at all times, because she gives you 9 entertainment and 9 revenue, which is ridiculous. Bonus revenue is a mechanic that basically some items have, and the more bonus revenue you get, the more money you get at the end of the game, or at the end of the day, I mean. And if you have your bonus revenue high enough, you will often get more money from bonus revenue than you will the salvage and the food combined. So, get those bonus revenue numbers up, especially if you're going for Posh Pizzeria. This could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's multiplicative, so at the beginning the bonus revenue might not be doing much, but by the end of the game you'll be getting like $5,000 or $6,000 a day. It's ridiculous. Anyways, enough babbling for now. Let's begin our night shift. I talked about this for this section on the last shift, but I just wanted to elaborate a bit more on why I like the night so much. First of all, I feel like it kind of uses a similar system to FNaF 4 in the sense where you have to rely on sound cues to survive, but it doesn't do it in such a way that makes it so I have to worry about my ears getting hurt every time I lose. Like, the jump scares are just loud enough to where when you're focusing in and they come out of nowhere, they're gonna catch you off guard and spook you, but it's not so loud it hurts my ears, if that makes sense. Then on top of that, there's also supplemental stuff that you can do to keep yourself safe, and personally, I just enjoy the gameplay loop of FNaF 6 more than FNaF 4. It feels more stressful, but in a good way. Again, FNaF 4 is kind of one of those games that's like, if you know what you're doing, you can be very precise with it to the point where it's not really a challenge, because it's a mechanical challenge, where it's like, if you can get your skills good enough, you will always win, because you'll always be executing your skills correctly, unless you make a mistake, I mean. But like, with FNaF 6, it always feels like something could go wrong due to some bad luck, and you could just be fucked. So I feel like it's more entertaining to just be like, I don't know. I'm trying to explain why I think this works so well, but I'm kind of realizing that I think some of the reasons it works so well for me are some of the reasons why it pisses other people off. So I don't know. I like how this also mixes like the voice lines from FNaF Sister Location into the gameplay too, because it feels like, yeah, the animatronics would be kind of talking to you if they could, especially because at this point in the series we've kind of dropped the whole context about this being like a haunted pizzeria, where at this point it's just like, yeah, your player character knows all these faces quite well, and they have a relationship in a funny way. It's not like these are just robots that were built to perform for children. These are monsters that are using the shape of animatronics that perform for children, and they have their own personalities that kind of bleed through. And I think that's why it's cool that they have voice lines, so they can actually communicate, even if it's obviously not that deep. it's just kind of, it's also cool for gameplay too, because that's a good way to know if the animatronics are close, because you'll hear them whispering in the vents, and that's always menacing. To talk about something negative, since I really like most things about this game, I do feel like the designs of half the animatronics are kind of weak, and by that I mean I feel like Scrap Baby is too like visually busy and is too overcomplicated, like even more than some of the Nightmare animatronics. And Scrap Trap is what everyone already makes the joke about Scrap Trap looking like Jimmy Neutron Peanut Head, but like, I don't know. It just feels like they could have made him more menacing for the final appearance of the main antagonist of the franchise, but that's just my opinion, so I don't know. I'm sure I've seen other people make redesigns for Scrap Trap, and I really like them, so coming back to the game and seeing base Scrap Trap is always a little disappointing, I guess, but that's purely a me issue. Anyways, I think I've rambled enough for now. Let's get back to the scripted stuff. Okay, I'm sorry to say this, but Wednesday wasn't very eventful on the Tycoon end of things, because what ended up happening was I used the money I got from the bonus revenue, all that stuff, to pay for Orville Elephant, and I used that to buy, or to get the Mediocre Melodies achievement, and then from there I just used the money to buy some things I was going to use later. And then in terms of play tokens, I used the rest I needed to unlock Music Man, and then I started chipping away at the 10 play tokens, or play tests at Prize King for Funtime Chica. So, again, not too eventful, but it was important anyways because we were making progress towards Posh Pizzeria. It was at this point in the editing process that Puppet Wraith began to get tired, and while they knew they were putting a lot of heart and soul and effort and time into this video, they were worried it was going to end up being bad, because just because you put time and effort into something doesn't make it good automatically. So, they were worried, because they want to make a good video for their audience, but they worry they won't be able to. But then again, if they worry about perfectionism too much, the video won't get done at all, so maybe it's better that the video comes out mostly baked with a few imperfections here or there, rather than it not come out at all. But that's for later. For now, it's time to begin our night shift. Funnily enough, just like the Tycoon section, this night didn't take very long to beat either. Yes, I did die to Molten Freddy, but that was in like the first 30 seconds of the night, so when I went back and tried again, for some reason the animatronics just didn't really go near me for most of the night, so since I had all the upgraded office equipment that I paid for, I was able to beat the night pretty easily and pretty quickly at that. Something else I want to bring up, because this is kind of to do with the production of the video. When I was originally planning on making the video, I was going to, during the final run, I was going to do live commentary during the gameplay, but then when I was doing the Bankruptcy route, and on the last night, I was like, this is not going to work because I'm going to need to be able to hear the robots. So I decided to do this where I'm just kind of unscripted rambling into the microphone instead of like doing it live with the gameplay. So I don't know if that's good. I don't know if it's bad. I just thought it's funny. So here we are. Anyways, Wednesday is when things kind of start to get really rough, because on like Monday and Tuesday, you can kind of get away with just putting the audio layer in one corner and then facing the flashlight in the other, and they don't move very far, or move very fast, I guess. So it's pretty easy to just kind of, they move slow enough to where you have plenty of time after they make the movement sound to go attack them, or not attack them, fend them off. But after that, it starts to, or I mean like after Wednesday, like Thursday onwards, like they start to move fast. So you need to be on top of them at all times. You can't dilly-dally. Because in these first few nights, I would take risks where I would like mess around with the terminal longer than I probably should have, but since they move slow enough, I was able to get away with it. But that will not fly on the last few nights, especially Saturday. Anyways, enough rambling for now. Let's get back to the good stuff, or the scripted stuff. Maybe you like this rambling more than the scripted stuff, who knows? Tell me down in the comments below what you want me to make these videos like in the future, because I could go either way and I just want to know what you guys like, so yeah. Because this video is beginning to run a bit long, I'm going to skim forward to Saturday, the final day. Just assume beforehand assume in that missing period of time that I was playing optimally, or somewhat optimally. Just imagine me not missing a single clown jackpot, even though I definitely did that. Anyways, I buy the security, puppet, and egg baby data archive, the first of which is it holds the key to our last lorekeeper secret. The first 3 times you play the security puppet minigame, you will not be able to find the child you are assigned to. But on the 4th, With that horrifying scene witnessed, we have officially gotten all 3 Lorekeeper secrets and become the Lorekeeper and got the certificate, which is the hidden 6th certificate I mentioned earlier. Now, since this certificate doesn't actually unlock an ending, it actually gives us something else, and that will become clear later. Much later. By much later, I mean I don't know, however long it takes me to beat Night 6. Spoiler, it took me a while. But before we do that, I need to get the Insanity ending. Meanwhile, speaking of insanity, I managed to complete the Posh Pizzeria achievement and got the ultimate prize. Pickles. Anyways, okay, go on to the... If you enter a night with the Egg Baby Dad archive placed down, or you might just need to have it purchased, I'm not sure. If you hold down the power button, or the blue button on your monitor, as well as holding the power button on your keyboard, you will get this ending.
It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity of this creature, this monster that I unwillingly helped to create, as if what he had already done wasn't enough. He found a new way to desecrate, to humiliate, to destroy. As if the suffering wasn't enough, the loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable. He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together. Are they still aware? I hope not. It keeps me awake at night. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this. He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there, again. He overpowered them, again. And he robbed them of the only thing that they had, again. I don't know how those tiny breaths of life came to inhabit those machines. I'll never find rest now, not like this. I have to call them all back, all of them, together in one place.
Congratulations! You went somewhere you weren't supposed to go, saw something you weren't supposed to see, and prevented a tidy resolution to a messy problem. Needless to say, you're fired. But before you go, take this certificate of insanity. We're giving it to you to ensure that no one believes you, and to ensure that we can promptly replace you without incident. There is a truck waiting for you outside. Take care.
Well, time for one more of these where I ramble madly into the microphone while I show the night gameplay in the background. First of all, this night was brutal. I don't know how I beat Night 6 on the Blacklisted ending, or Blacklisted run, without dying once, because I died over 40 times on this night alone, which is ridiculous to me, but it was fun. It was a fun challenge to do. And technically it could have been harder because I could have not bought any of the extra office equipment that speeds up your tasks, but I chose not to. Or I chose to buy them. I chose to forego that extra challenge. But again, it was challenging enough, so I'm glad I didn't. I think the Insanity ending is really interesting because there's a small chance you'll probably find it before getting the completion ending, if you even get the Insanity ending at all. But I like how it gives you some extra context. It's pretty easy to put together that the guy on the cassette is the guy kind of pulling you along here, or is kind of leading you forward, or he's the one you're working for, or he's the one whose goals you're working towards. But it's nice to hear, from his own mouth, in a sense, that, yeah, I'm bringing all the pieces of Freddy's into one place so I can destroy them and put them to rest. And I think that's nice that we get to hear it from him. It's kind of refreshing to hear just a direct thing where someone's stating their intentions in this series, even now. Or even with the games we've gotten since FNaF 6, it's nice to hear someone just clearly lay out their motives and plans. Sorry, my voice is probably sounding pretty bad. I've been talking a lot today. Mostly for this video. I probably need to drink some more water. Anyways, I want to talk more about my thoughts on FNaF 6 in general when I'm going to talk more about it after we see the ending cutscene for this night. But I just want to, I don't know. It's just, I like this game a lot. I'm glad I replayed it for this video, if anything else. Oh yeah, I was gonna mention this earlier, but I forgot because I'm stupid. But if you want a more concrete breakdown on how exactly the game mechanics in this game work, because I kind of wanted to keep them purposely vague for this video because I didn't want this to just become like an AI breakdown video. So I'm going to actually leave an AI breakdown video in the description somewhere. I'm going to try to find the best one. I forget exactly which channel made it, but I can see the thumbnail in my head, or of like which video I'm thinking of. So look out for that if you're curious. I just kind of want to keep some of the mystery and spookiness behind this, so breaking down all the math behind literally everything would probably get, I don't know, this video's long enough. I'm also worried I'm padding out the video too much by rambling, but you guys apparently like that, so I don't know. I like talking, if you couldn't tell. Anyways, most of the thoughts I want to share are for after the ending, so I think I'm going to stop rambling for now and show off the ending.
You played right into our hands. Did you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you? No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Congratulations on completing your work week. We apologize if your situation wasn't presented to you in a completely honest fashion when you first started, but it was important that your intentions and actions be genuine. Here at Fazbear Entertainment, we value fun, family, and food. But more importantly, we value our commitment to atoning for past mistakes and tying up loose ends. Thank you for your participation. There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity. Please accept this certificate of completion. Goodbye for now, and thank you for taking this journey with us.
Five Nights at Freddy's 6. What do I say about the game that I haven't already said already? Well, first of all, I know there's kind of been a debate in the fandom if FNaF 6 was ever supposed to be the final entry in the series, but in my stupid opinion, I'm pretty sure it was. Pairing together Henry's speech at the end along with that little message in the credits from Scott about how it's been a pleasure making games from you all, I get the feeling that this was supposed to be a send-off. A final hurrah. An Ultimate Custom Night was just meant to be the cherry on top of this epilogue. Or as an epilogue, my apologies. Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is not a perfect game. No game is, especially in this series. Insert security breach joke here. But I feel like this series is always just something nice. It's a distraction. It's not something that, well, I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's has not been in my life, my entire life, obviously. I was about 7 when the first game came out, and I don't even think I was aware of it when it came out, obviously. I don't know why I'm saying obviously. I don't think I was aware of it when it came out. But I remember talking about the games in elementary school, which is kind of ridiculous looking back. It's not ridiculous, it just feels weird considering I'm graduated high school now. But I don't know. Sorry, I don't really have a script here because I can't read a script with this mask on, obviously. I need to stop saying obviously. Yeah. I don't know. That final ending from Henry just gets me so emotional, or it just gives me like goosebumps. Just that idea of like, this pain has just existed for so long, and we just need to let things rest. And I feel like that's kind of something good for the series in a way. I don't know. On one hand, I like having Five Nights at Freddy's as just like a constant in my life. Ever since I discovered it, it's always been here. It's always going to be something that I can look forward to or I can distract myself with. But it's also nice to let things end. It's nice to let those souls rest. It's nice to let those children move on, even if it's all figurative and metaphorical. I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's is very special to me, and it probably always will be. But I'm glad that if I want to, I can just pretend like this is where the series ends, and I can just tie it up in a messy, but tight bow nonetheless. Sorry, this whole section is probably messy. This whole video is probably really messy. I don't really know how to end this rambling. It's hard to convey all my thoughts on this game in words, especially when I'm not writing them down to kind of filter some thoughts through. I also want to make sure this mask Because I think if I like angle my head the wrong way, it's gonna look stupid on camera. So I want to make sure you can actually see the mask. But I'm worrying too much about that probably. I should have made this mask smaller, to be honest. Anyways, Five Nights at Freddy's 6, like I said, is no perfect game. But it's like comfort food to me almost. It's like horror comfort food. If I want a horror game, I can just sit down and play Five Nights at Freddy's 6. It's comfortable to me, even though it's scary, and even though I was talking about how it's always like keeps you on your toes. That's what I want out of a horror game. And I'm glad that I have a horror game that I can come back to, that no matter how many times I play it, it's always even just a little bit scary. Sometimes I wonder if Scott ever considered if he should end the series after like FNaF 6, because the thought had to at least cross his mind. So many loose ends were tied up, and while some ends or doors were opened, they weren't really looking forward. They were kind of just being like, oh, here's some more details about the stuff looking back. But all that stuff's gone now anyway, so that's just more for fun. Well, it feels like every game nowadays is setting up something new in the universe. I don't know, it just feels like there's not really any conclusion to anything, because it's all trying to lead into something new. But I guess that's just how things work in the indie horror scene. I don't know. I want this story to have a neat little bow that can wrap things all up with, but I know I'm not going to get that. So I think having FNaF 6 is just the closest thing I'm ever going to get to it, so it's just nice to have. This microphone isn't plugged into anything. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to use the audio from this. I don't even know if this mask looks good on camera. I set up all this stuff, and it's probably not even going to be good. But hey, who cares? I do. I care a lot. I'm very nervous about this. Anyways, while I'm all dressed up in this, if you like this video, or I don't really have anything else to say, so Five Nights at Freddy's 6, I recommend it. Or without TLDR of this, 100% of the game I did what the title said. Sorry, I'm really tired. This mask is not very... it's surprisingly breathable and seeable, but it's still not, like, good, if that makes sense. Anyways, Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is really special to me, and I don't really know how to put my thoughts into words, so I feel like it would be a disservice to try. And I apologize if that makes this video ending feel a bit anticlimactic. I apologize. If you like this video, please consider like, commenting, and subscribing, all that YouTube stuff. I'm a smaller creator, so the hype button, it probably does something, I don't know. I don't know what the point of the hype thing is, just do it, I guess. Sorry, I'm really tired. I'm experiencing FNaF 6 fire in my fucking room over here because it's so goddamn hot. Because I had to turn my fan off so I could... I'm pointing to my fan, but you can't see it. My fan is off, so it's really hot, and this costume is really hot, and I have a ring light pointed at me, and it's really hot, and I'm just really hot. I want to go to bed. I'm really tired. I've been up editing since like 1 a.m. I don't know. So I hope this video was somewhat enjoyable. If you liked it, do all the YouTube stuff like I just said. If you really like this video, please share it around, because I know this video is only going to get like a couple hundred views at most. I'd be thankful if this video, or I mean, like, I'm thankful for anything, but I would be super grateful if this video even hit 1,000. So consider sharing the video around, maybe. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. Thank you for all your love and support. I'm gonna go to bed now.